Dr. Brett Siebold here for KAPOL and Contact Mission. I'd like to thank James Snap for his content contribution for this video. Perhaps you've encountered some well-intended Christians who've asked, why are there so many different translations of the Bible? And shouldn't we only use the King James Version? Now, I'm both encouraged and concerned by what is described in this sort of question. I recall the Apostle Paul when he described the people of Israel in his day in Romans 10. They have a zeal for God, that's good, but not according to knowledge, that's not good. It is understandable why some folks are fans of the KJV. It is a reliable translation that has served the English-speaking world for over 4 centuries. Its New Testament-based text, the Textus Receptus, has not been significantly revised or altered, unlike the New Testament-based texts of more modern versions such as the NASB, NIV 1984, NIV 2011, ESV, CSB, and NRSV. Beyond the standardizations made in 1769 in the Blaney update. It is a much better translation than one would think if one has swallowed the marketing of some newer translations such as the NRSV, which is marketed with the claim that the KJV has serious defects. And its distinction between singular thee, thou, and ye, you pronouns is something that many readers will appreciate. But instead of praising the KJV, I wish to briefly point out why KJV onlyism should not be embraced. The main reason is that the KJV's New Testament-based text is missing some portions of the original text and includes numerous readings which are not original. The battle cry of the Reformation was ad fontes, to the sources, echoing the spirit of Isaiah 8:20, to the law and to the testimony. If they do not speak according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Reliance upon the infallible and inerrant original text rather than upon material and ideas introduced by copyists and paraphrasers is a basic principle of Bible-based Christianity. Only by recognizing the superiority of the original text can the work of translators be tested to tell if it is accurate or not. This was just as true in 1611 as it is today. In 1611, the translators of the KJV had only a small slice of Greek manuscript evidence available. It was, happily, a very good slice, but still capable of improvement. Many KJV onlyists think that ad fontes is their battle cry. KJV onlyists often appeal to the Antiochian or Byzantine texts, the text preserved in most Greek manuscripts, and insist that it is superior to the Alexandrian texts, the primary New Testament-based texts of the ESV, NIV, CSB. Some KJV onlyists have made charts depicting the trustworthy Byzantine text of the KJV contrasted against the untrustworthy Alexandrian text of the NIV, ESV, CSB, etc. However, the Byzantine text and the Textus Receptus, the base text of the KJV New Testament, are not exactly the same. The Textus Receptus consists primarily of readings extracted from the Greek New Testaments made by Desiderius Erasmus, Robert Stephanus, the man responsible for adding verse numbers to the Bible, and Theodore Beza in the 1500s. Erasmus initially worked mainly from a small batch of manuscripts in Basel, Switzerland. Glitches in his materials affected his work, and glitches in the work of Stephanus and Beza also affected their compilations. Glitch readings that were never remotely close to being in most manuscripts and which were never in the archetype, the genetic code, so to speak, of the Byzantine text, endured in the Textus Receptus long enough to affect the KJV. The Textus Receptus contains over 1,000 translation-impacting readings that are not in the Byzantine text. Here are a few easily verifiable samples of non-original readings in the KJV reflecting non-original readings in the Textus Receptus. Matthew 7:2, Textus Receptus, measured to you again, whereas most manuscripts read just measured. Matthew 9:36, Textus Receptus, weary. Most manuscripts read distressed. Matthew 12:25, Textus Receptus, of the heart. Most manuscripts do not have this phrase. Mark 4:4, Textus Receptus, of the air. Most manuscripts do not have this phrase. Luke 2:22, the Textus Receptus, her, where most manuscripts have there. Luke 7:31, Textus Receptus, and the Lord said. Most manuscripts, these words do not appear. Luke 8:3, Textus Receptus, him. Most manuscripts have them. Acts 9:5b through 6a, the Textus Receptus, the words, it is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what wilt thou have me do? And the Lord said to him, in all Greek manuscripts made before the 1500s, these words do not appear. Ephesians 3:9, the Textus Receptus reads, fellowship. Most manuscripts have dispensation. Philippians 4:3, the Textus Receptus reads, and I entreat. Most manuscripts read, yes, I entreat. Colossians 1:6, Textus Receptus, does not have and is growing, whereas most manuscripts include and is growing after is bringing forth fruit. This was due to the copyists accidentally skipping the words kai auxanomenon in Greek. Revelation 6:12, the Textus Receptus, the word whole is missing, whereas most manuscripts include it. Also, two other readings may be mentioned which show that omissions sometimes happen that affected the text in most manuscripts. James 4:12 is missing and judge after lawgiver. And in Jude, verse 25, the entire phrase, through Jesus Christ our Lord, is missing. Scribal mistakes of this sort are easily amended when the texts of manuscripts from diverse locales are analyzed together. But KJV onlyists refuse to pay attention to such analysis because of an entrenched prejudice against all copies with a non-Byzantine text. The results of such an entrenched prejudice is that the original authoritative inspired reading is repeatedly rejected, and a scribal creation is allowed to usurp its place not only in the case of 1,000 glitch readings, but also in many places where the Byzantine text is marred by the influence of lectionaries, harmonizations, and simplifications. These many readings constitute benign, non-original elements, but the point is that they are benign non-originals, and thus non-authoritative elements. Instead of quarreling with KJV onlyists or throwing books at them, which is likely to only entrench them in their position, I offer two pebbles that may be stuck in their shoes, so to speak. First is the story of Mumpsimus, a story told by Erasmus himself to show the fundamental importance of being correctly informed. Erasmus mentioned a priest who had used the non-word Mumpsimus in church services for 20 years and was too attached to it to stop using it even after he was informed that the correct word is Sumpsimus. The word Sumpsimus just seemed like a novelty to him, but it wasn't. KJV onlyists should consider whether they are like such a priest, preferring tradition over accuracy. Hugh Latimer, the famous English martyr, critiqued the Mumpsimus mentality, writing in 1553, "Some be so obstinate in their old Mumpsimus that they cannot abide the true doctrine of God. If newer versions such as the New King James Version, or the World English Bible, or the Eastern Orthodox New Testament accurately bring the message of the New Testament into better focus, should they be rejected merely for the sake of consistency?" Second is the story of a kingdom founded on the principle that the monarch should be the oldest person in the kingdom. The problem was that many ordinary citizens and many more people in neighboring countries had trouble understanding what the oldest person in the kingdom meant, and as a result, misunderstandings abounded. The problem could have been remedied if the citizens had allowed younger statesmen to write the laws of the land in terms that people could understand, but no one did, and the state eventually fell into ruin. May no addiction to tradition be allowed to sentence the Christian church to a similar fate. Christ is the only King whose reign never ends, and the language of Christian love is the only language that does not change. Make no mistake, the KJV was a tremendous feat of English Bible translation for its day. However, we have a much more informed and broader understanding of the original New Testament Greek text today than we did in 1611. Again, I'm Dr. Brett Siebold with KAPOL and Contact Mission.